Hi, this is The Cross Connection, and I'm Brent Little. What does true repentance look like? Zacchaeus had betrayed his nation, shamed his family name, and was repeatedly extorting money from his own people. He could do this because he was a taxman backed by the authority of the Roman government. The Romans had instructed him to tax everyone by a certain percentage, and that anything he charged above that, he could skim off the top as cream. So Zach did just that, and everyone hated him for it. Well, one day Jesus invited Zacchaeus to lunch, and everything changed. We're not told what the conversation was, but the result of his time with Jesus was that Zacchaeus had a major change of heart. Now, while it's true that Zacchaeus had been sinning against God as well, Jesus doesn't even address that. This repentance is horizontal to people, and it consisted of two things. Half of Zacchaeus' ill-gotten gains he would give to the poor. And if he had ripped anyone off, done anyone wrong, he would use the other half to do whatever it took to restore to his victims 4 times as much as he took. And the result? Jesus replied that salvation had come to Zach's house that day. But please notice that Jesus did not make this declaration until Zacchaeus had declared his change of heart by his promise to do whatever it took to make things right. But what if Zacchaeus later changed his mind and reneged on his promise to Jesus and explained that it was just too much to ask of him? Would his previous commitment before Jesus suffice for salvation to have come to his house that day? Would it have really been real? I don't think so. As the book of James says, you can't tell cold and hungry people to be warmed and filled and then do nothing to clothe and feed them. That would be a totally worthless comment. We have to follow through on what we say we're going to do and for it to be real. And the Apostle John tells us that talking a good talk about love is worthless, and that we need to love in deed and in truth. Our words need to translate into sincere work and a genuine walk. Well, maybe you haven't done what Zacchaeus did. Maybe you've never extorted material things from another person, and hopefully you haven't, but is that the only kind of rip-off that's possible against another person? I don't think so. What if you took something more abstract from a person, like their freedom or their hope or a commitment to love them, or you hurt someone by false words and broken promises or betrayal of some kind? The things that money alone cannot remedy. It is amazing how many people are walking around almost oblivious to what they have done and how much they have hurt another person. And I can assure you that there is an ocean of it out there. People filled with such indifference to the pain they have caused others that they aren't even interested in trying to make it right. We have loads of excuses for our rotten behavior. Justifications and rationalizations that people believe somehow excuses them from any responsibility for the damage that they've done to others by their selfish choices and hurtful actions. People can be so enmeshed in the need to protect their egos and their status or their particular lifestyle that they choose to put their heads in the sand rather than deal honestly with the inconsiderate or heartless or rude or painful and downright evil things they have done to others. But what if you're honest and fortunate enough to recognize the error of your ways and actually feel remorse over what you've done to someone? Is it enough to simply tell God that you're sorry for having done it and then go your merry way while completely avoiding the one you've wronged? Or is a simple blanket apology to your victim like, oops, sorry, but let's not discuss the details because it's all over with now, okay? Forgiven, forgotten. Is that sufficient to make things right when the hurt you've caused other people runs so very deeply? I don't think so. I hope you recognize that just doing that kind of thing is not nearly enough. And I hope you're going to realize that, as in this story of Zacchaeus, true repentance involves a concerted effort on your part at restoration of the victim and of the relationship. An attempt at restoration, by the way, that involves 4 times the amount of effort you put into wronging your victim. Now, it's obvious that there are some things we can't make right because the one we've wronged is dead or gone or missing without any way of finding them. And in this case, it has to be sufficient to bring our repentance to God and deal with it that way. And along the same lines, if there is someone else who was related to the one you hurt, who has also been hurt because of what you did, it should be obvious that even though we may not be able to make it right with the primary victim, we can attempt to make it right with those who have suffered collateral damage because of our own selfish actions. But what if they don't want anything to do with your attempts to make it right? Because there are people out there who are very unforgiving. And in that case, after you have made your concerted effort to do the right thing, you have done your part and can leave it up to God and the other person to deal with what remains. But you should, based on the principle found here, make at least a 4-fold attempt to make things right. Is it in your power to do something about what you've done? Notice that I didn't ask if it was within your desire to deal with it. Our desires don't always correspond with our responsibilities before Jesus. In fact, when it comes to apologies and making amends, it can be an extremely humbling experience. But it can also be an extremely liberating experience. And in many cases, it can mean the difference between salvation coming to your house or passing you by. Do not withhold good from those to whom it is due when it is in your power to do it. Proverbs 3:27. If there is someone you've done wrong to, I hope that you have or that you will go and make that concerted effort 4 times as much as you've damaged them to make it right. Till next time, I'm Brent Little, and this is The Cross Connection.